What if I told you that right now, at this very second, there are weapons ready to launch that could end human civilization in less than 30 minutes? Not in a movie, not in a video game, not in a conspiracy theory. In real life, somewhere beneath quiet American farmland, hidden deep under concrete and steel, missiles sit waiting, silent, fueled, programmed. Beneath the ocean's dark surface, submarines patrol without lights, without sound, carrying weapons powerful enough to erase entire cities. High above the earth, satellites scan the planet every second, searching for one thing: the flash of a launch. And here's the part that will send chills down your spine. If those systems detect an incoming nuclear strike, the President of the United States may have less than 15 minutes to decide the fate of millions. 15 minutes. Think about that. It takes longer to order food, longer to drive to work, longer to watch this video. But in those minutes, a single decision could change the course of history forever. There is no dramatic red button glowing on a desk. Instead, there is a briefcase that follows the president everywhere, to meetings, to events, even on vacations. Inside are codes and options, plans for scenarios no one ever wants to face. And if the unthinkable happens, if missiles are detected in the sky, alarms sound in secure bunkers, military officers rush into action, radar screens light up, advisors speak urgently but calmly, a clock starts counting down. Is the attack real? Is it a mistake? Is it a glitch in the system? Because if the response is launched, there is no taking it back. Once a missile leaves its silo, it cannot be recalled. Once a submarine fires from beneath the ocean, there is no undo button. Once warheads separate in space, their path is final. And what happens next? A flash brighter than the sun, a shock wave that crushes buildings, fires that swallow cities, radiation that lingers for years. And if multiple nations respond, smoke rising into the atmosphere, sunlight blocked from the earth, crops failing, global temperatures dropping, a world struggling to survive. This isn't fear-mongering. This isn't fantasy. This is a reality of the nuclear system that has existed quietly for decades. But here's the most surprising part. These weapons are not built to be used. They are built to prevent war. For over 70 years, the terrifying promise of mutual destruction has kept powerful nations from pulling the trigger. The world has come dangerously close more than once. False alarms, radar errors, moments where human judgment stood between peace and catastrophe. And that's what makes this story so powerful. Because behind all the missiles, behind all the technology, behind all the strategy, there's a human being. A person who must decide in minutes whether to respond or wait. A person who carries the weight of millions of lives. Tonight, we're going deep inside America's nuclear missile system, how it works, who controls it, what happens after launch, and the emotional burden carried by the one person who would give that order. You will see how close the world has come to disaster. You will understand why this system exists. And by the end of this video, you may realize something shocking. The most powerful weapon on Earth isn't a missile, it's restraint. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will change the way you see global power forever. One decision, one command, one moment of silence, and the world could change forever. Imagine sitting in a quiet room where history has been shaped for generations. The air feels heavy. The phones are secure. The walls are soundproof. Outside, life continues normally. People driving to work. Children go to school. Families laughing over dinner. But inside that room, a choice may be made that could affect every one of them. This is not a scene from a Hollywood movie. This is a reality behind America's nuclear missile system. For decades, people have imagined a dramatic red button sitting on the president's desk, glowing, waiting to be pressed in anger. It's a powerful image. Simple. Terrifying. But the truth is more complex and far more serious. There is no single red button. Instead, there is a carefully designed system built during one of the most dangerous periods in human history, the Cold War. After World War II, global power shifted dramatically. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as rival superpowers. Both possessed nuclear weapons. Both feared the other might strike first. Tension grew year after year. Political disagreements turned into military competition. Weapons became more advanced. Bombs became more powerful. The fear of surprise attack haunted leaders on both sides. Out of that fear, a strategy was born: deterrence. The idea was simple but chilling. If both sides had the power to destroy each other completely, neither would dare to start a war. It became known as mutually assured destruction. In other words, if you attack me, I will respond, and both of us will lose everything. To make that threat believable, the United States built an enormous and highly organized nuclear defense structure. It wasn't just about having bombs. It was about ensuring those weapons could survive any attack and still respond. That's when the nuclear triad was created. The triad includes land-based missiles, submarine-launched missiles, and strategic bombers. Each branch serves a purpose. If one is destroyed, the others remain operational. It's a system designed for survival and retaliation. Across rural America, hidden in remote areas far from major cities, are underground missile silos. From the outside, they look ordinary, fenced fields with little visible activity. But beneath the ground lies advanced technology capable of launching intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. Deep under the ocean, nuclear-powered submarines move silently through dark waters. These submarines are nearly impossible to detect. Each one carries missiles that can strike targets thousands of miles away. They are considered the most survivable part of the triad. In air bases across the country, long-range bombers stand ready. Maintained by skilled crews, these aircraft can carry nuclear payloads across continents. Together, these three components create constant readiness. But readiness does not mean recklessness. The system is built with strict safeguards. Every action requires confirmation. Every decision passes through secure communication networks. Layers of authentication exist to prevent mistakes. Still, the speed of modern warfare leaves little room for hesitation. If early warning systems detect incoming missiles through satellites or radar, leaders may have less than 30 minutes to respond. In some scenarios, they may have far less. Think about that. 30 minutes to analyze data. 30 minutes to determine whether an alert is real or false. 30 minutes to make a decision that could shape the fate of humanity. Throughout history, there have been moments when warning systems malfunctioned. Radar glitches, computer errors, false alarms. In those moments, human judgment made the difference between survival and catastrophe. That is what makes this system both powerful and frightening. It depends not just on machines, but on people. Highly trained officers work around the clock in secure control centers. They follow strict protocols. They rehearse scenarios. They prepare for events they hope will never happen. Meanwhile, the president, the only person authorized to order a nuclear strike, carries the weight of that responsibility at all times. Wherever the president travels, a military aide carries a secure briefcase known as the nuclear football. Inside are communication tools and response options. The existence of such a system may sound alarming, but supporters argue that it has prevented global war for more than 70 years. Since the end of World War II, no two nuclear-armed superpowers have fought a direct large-scale war. The fear of escalation has forced caution. Critics, however, warn about the risks. They argue that as long as these weapons exist, the possibility of accident, miscalculation, or escalation remains. And yet, despite debates, treaties, and international negotiations, the system continues to operate quietly in the background of everyday life. Most people rarely think about it. They wake up, check their phones, go to work, watch television, spend time with family, unaware that somewhere beneath the surface, a network of systems stands ready for the unthinkable. It is a strange reality. Humanity has created a power capable of ending civilization, and then built systems to prevent itself from ever using it. The nuclear missile system is not about drama. It is not about emotion. It is about preparation, preparing for the worst in hopes it never arrives. The true power of the system does not lie in destruction. It lies in deterrence, because the goal is not to press the button. The goal is to ensure that no one ever does. And as long as the system exists, silent and ready, it remains one of the most powerful and sobering forces shaping our modern world. Power is one thing. Control is another. When people hear about America's nuclear weapons, they often imagine chaos, a single emotional decision leading instantly to catastrophe. But the reality behind the system is built on structure, verification, and layers of command designed to prevent panic or misuse. There is no dramatic red button sitting on a desk. Instead, there is a carefully designed chain of authority that begins and ends with procedure. At the very top of that chain is the President of the United States. By law and tradition, only the President has the authority to order the use of nuclear weapons, not a general, not Congress, not a military commander in the field. The decision rests with one individual, but that does not mean the President acts alone in a moment of isolation. If a potential nuclear threat is detected, events move fast, incredibly fast. America operates a sophisticated early warning system made up of satellites, radar installations, and tracking networks positioned around the globe. These systems constantly scan for signs of missile launches anywhere in the world. The moment a launch is detected, data flows into military command centers. Within seconds, alarms trigger. Within minutes, senior military officials are notified. The information is rapidly analyzed. Trajectory, speed, origin, likely target. Computers calculate impact times. Experts determine whether the signal is real or possibly a technical error. Time becomes the most valuable resource. If incoming missiles are confirmed, the President may have as little as 10 to 15 minutes to decide on a response before those missiles reach American soil. That short window exists because intercontinental ballistic missiles travel at extraordinary speeds, thousands of miles per hour, crossing continents in about 30 minutes. In that moment, the President is immediately connected to top advisors through secure communication systems. This emergency meeting is often referred to as a crisis conference. Military leaders present options. Intelligence officials provide updates. Strategic planners outline possible responses. These options are not improvised. They are pre-planned and carefully developed over years. They range from limited strikes to broader responses. Each option includes detailed projections about impact, casualties, and potential escalation. The President listens, asks questions, considers consequences. If the decision is made to authorize a nuclear launch, the next step is authentication. This is where one of the most guarded elements of the system comes into play, the verification codes. At all times, the President carries a small card containing unique authentication codes. This card is sometimes informally called the biscuit. Nearby, a military aide carries a nuclear football, a secure briefcase equipped with communication tools and classified documents outlining strike options. When the President gives the order, their identity must be verified. The codes from the card are matched with codes at the Pentagon and Strategic Command. This step ensures that the command is genuine and not issued under deception or impersonation. Once verified, the official launch order is transmitted through secure and encrypted channels to the appropriate military units. Now, the process moves to the operational level. In underground launch control centers scattered across the country, missile crews remain on duty 24 hours a day. These officers are highly trained and carefully selected. They follow strict discipline and psychological screening. Their job is to maintain readiness and to wait. When a launch order arrives, they do not question its legality. Their responsibility is to verify that the order is authentic and properly formatted. The message they receive includes coded instructions. Here is one of the most important safeguards in the entire system: the two-person rule. No single individual can launch a missile alone. In each launch control center, at least 2 officers must confirm the order and turn their launch keys simultaneously. The keys are positioned far enough apart that one person cannot reach both at the same time. This ensures cooperation and prevents unilateral action. Even then, multiple control centers must participate for a missile to launch. It requires coordinated confirmation. If all steps are correctly followed, the missile is activated. In the silo above, massive doors slide open. The rocket ignites. Within seconds, it rises into the sky. From submarines beneath the ocean, a similar but separate process occurs. Submarine commanders receive authenticated launch orders through secure transmissions. After verifying the codes and following internal procedures, missiles can be launched from underwater, breaking to the surface in a burst of fire and steam before heading toward their targets. Strategic bombers operate differently. They can be deployed, recalled, and even redirected while in flight. This flexibility offers decision-makers additional options during a crisis. One critical fact often surprises people. Once a land-based missile is launched, it cannot be recalled. There is no self-destruct command that can safely stop it mid-flight. The system is designed for reliability and speed, not reversibility. This irreversible nature is why the decision carries such enormous weight. Throughout history, there have been moments when false alarms tested the system. Technical errors, radar malfunctions, even training tapes mistakenly loaded into live systems have triggered alerts. In those tense moments, human judgment prevented escalation. The process is not perfect. No system created by humans ever is. But it is layered with checks, balances, and redundancies designed to reduce risk as much as possible. Supporters argue that this complexity strengthens deterrence. It shows adversaries that the system is organized, credible, and capable of rapid response. Critics argue that the speed required for decision-making leaves too little room for careful deliberation. They worry about the pressure placed on a single individual during a crisis. Yet despite decades of global tension, the process has never been used in full-scale nuclear war since World War II. The chain of command has remained intact. The procedures have remained disciplined. And the missiles remain in their silos, silent, unmoving. The true power of America's nuclear missile system lies not only in its destructive capability, but in the strict process governing it. A chain of decisions, a sequence of verifications, a structure built to ensure that if the unthinkable ever happens, it happens by deliberate command, not by accident. Because when the stakes are this high, control matters more than power. And in a world where minutes decide the fate of millions, every second and every safeguard counts. The moment the order is carried out, everything changes. Deep underground, in reinforced silos built to survive earthquakes and explosions, a sequence begins. Heavy steel doors, weighing hundreds of tons, slowly slide open. Warning lights flash. Sirens echo inside the control room. The crew members, trained for years for this single possibility, watch silently as the final countdown reaches zero. Then it happens. A violent burst of flame erupts from the base of the missile. Smoke and dust explode into the air. The ground trembles as the rocket lifts upward, faster and faster, until it disappears into the sky within seconds. There is no hesitation now, no undo button. The missile climbs rapidly through the atmosphere, pushed by powerful rocket engines. Within minutes, it reaches space. At this stage, it is traveling at speeds exceeding 15,000 miles per hour. From launch to impact, the journey may take roughly 30 minutes, sometimes less depending on distance. But here is what makes modern nuclear weapons even more devastating. The missile does not carry just one warhead. When it reaches a certain point in space, the rocket releases multiple warheads, a technology known as MIRVs, or multiple independently targetable reentry vehicles. Each warhead separates and follows its own path toward different targets. One missile can strike several cities or military bases at once. As the warheads re-enter Earth's atmosphere, they heat up to extreme temperatures. Traveling at unimaginable speed, they become unstoppable projectiles heading toward their destinations. And then, impact. If a nuclear warhead detonates above a city, the first thing people would see is a blinding flash of white light. For a fraction of a second, it would be brighter than the sun. Anyone looking directly at it could be instantly blinded, even from miles away. The temperature at the center of the explosion would reach millions of degrees, hotter than the core of the sun. Buildings near the blast would simply vaporize. Concrete would shatter. Steel would bend like plastic. A massive shockwave would follow, moving outward faster than the speed of sound. It would crush structures, flip vehicles, and flatten entire neighborhoods. Windows would explode for miles in every direction. Then comes the heat. The thermal radiation from the explosion would ignite fires across a wide area. Clothes, trees, rooftops. Anything flammable could burst into flames. Survivors near the blast would suffer severe burns. Within minutes, countless small fires would combine into a firestorm, a massive, uncontrollable inferno feeding on everything around it. Oxygen would be pulled toward the center of the blaze, creating hurricane-like winds. But even after flames begin to fade, the danger would remain. Radiation. Nuclear explosions release intense bursts of radiation. Some radiation occurs instantly, affecting anyone exposed nearby. But radioactive particles also rise into the sky in a towering cloud, the infamous mushroom cloud. As that cloud cools, radioactive debris falls back to the ground. This is known as nuclear fallout. Fallout can contaminate water supplies, soil, buildings, and air. It can travel far beyond the original blast zone, carried by winds across entire regions. People exposed to high levels of radiation may suffer from radiation sickness. Symptoms include nausea, weakness, internal damage, and long-term health effects such as cancer. Hospitals in affected areas would likely be destroyed or overwhelmed. Emergency services would struggle to respond. Power grids could collapse. Communication networks would fail. Roads could become blocked by debris. And this is only the result of one detonation. If multiple nuclear weapons were used in a large-scale exchange between nations, the consequences would multiply dramatically. Major cities could be wiped out within hours. Governments might lose leadership structures. Financial systems could crash instantly. Global markets would collapse. But the effects would not stop at national borders. Scientists warn of a phenomenon called nuclear winter. If dozens or hundreds of cities burned at once, massive amounts of smoke and soot could rise high into the atmosphere. This dark cloud could block sunlight from reaching the Earth's surface. Without sunlight, temperatures would drop. Agricultural production could decline sharply. Crops would fail in many regions. Food shortages could spread worldwide, even in countries not directly targeted. Ecosystems could suffer severe disruption. Ocean temperatures might change. Wildlife populations could decline. The global climate could shift unpredictably. In short, nuclear war would not simply be a regional disaster. It could become a planetary one. This is why nuclear weapons are often described as civilization-ending weapons. Unlike conventional bombs, they do not just destroy buildings. They threaten the foundations of human society. And yet, despite this terrifying reality, nuclear weapons have not been used in war since 1945. Why? Because leaders understand what happens after launch. They know there are no winners. The concept of mutually assured destruction means that if one nuclear power launches, the other will respond. Retaliation would follow retaliation. The destruction would escalate rapidly. It is this certainty of catastrophic response that has prevented full-scale nuclear conflict between major powers for decades. In a strange and unsettling way, the horror of what happens after launch is exactly what keeps the launch from happening. The destruction is so complete, so irreversible, that it acts as a warning to every nation that possesses these weapons. Once the missile leaves a silo, once the submarine fires from beneath the sea, once the bomber releases its payload, there is no turning back. No negotiation, no second chance, only consequences. And perhaps the most chilling part of all is this. The entire process, from detection to launch to impact, could unfold in less than an hour to change human history forever. That is the reality behind the system. That is what makes it powerful. And that is why, even today, leaders tread carefully, knowing exactly what happens after launch. At the center of this massive system of missiles, submarines, radar stations, satellites, and secret bunkers, there is one simple truth. A human being makes the final decision, not a computer, not an automatic defense machine, not artificial intelligence, a person. And that reality changes everything. When a new president of the United States takes office, one of the first classified briefings they receive is about the nuclear arsenal. Within days, sometimes hours, they're introduced to the full power of the system they now control. They are shown how it works. They are told how quickly a decision might have to be made. They are informed about the consequences, military, political, and human. It is not a symbolic responsibility. It is immediate. From that moment forward, wherever the president goes, a military aide follows close behind carrying a secure briefcase known publicly as the nuclear football. Inside are communication tools and pre-planned response options. The president also carries authentication codes at all times. That means whether they are traveling overseas, attending a public event, or sleeping at night, the system is always within reach. Now imagine the unthinkable scenario. An alert comes in. Early warning systems detect what appears to be incoming enemy missiles. Radar confirms launches. Satellites track heat signatures rising from distant territory. Within seconds, phones ring in secure locations. Military commanders are notified. Intelligence teams analyze data at lightning speed. The president is informed immediately. Advisors rush into a secure room. Screens display trajectories. Timers show estimated impact times. Voices speak calmly but urgently. Mr. President, we have detected possible incoming missiles. At that moment, the weight becomes real. If the attack is genuine and no response is launched, millions could die. If the alert is a mistake and retaliation is ordered, millions could die. And the clock is ticking. This is the part most people never truly think about. The president may have less than 15 minutes to decide. 15 minutes to evaluate intelligence. 15 minutes to consult military advisors. 15 minutes to determine whether to change the course of human history. The stress in that room would be unimaginable. Every word matters. Every second counts. Yet, history has shown that human judgment has saved the world before. There have been false alarms in the past. Technical errors, misinterpreted data, computer malfunctions. In some cases, individuals chose to question the system instead of reacting instantly. Their calm thinking prevented escalation. These moments remind us that technology may detect threats, but humans interpret them, and humans carry emotion, fear, responsibility, doubt. A president must consider not only military strategy, but moral consequences. Launching nuclear weapons is not just a tactical decision. It is a moral one. It means knowingly initiating an action that could result in unimaginable civilian casualties. It means accepting that cities, full of families, children, hospitals, schools, could be destroyed. Even if the strike is retaliatory, the outcome remains devastating. This is why many former leaders have described the nuclear briefing as one of the most sobering experiences of their lives. Some have spoken publicly about the haunting awareness that they hold the power to end millions of lives. And yet, the system is not built on impulse. There are advisors in the room, military generals, defense secretaries, strategic commanders. They provide options and assessments. They outline possible enemy responses. They calculate risks of escalation. But legally, the final order belongs to the president. That concentration of authority has sparked debate for decades. Some argue that it ensures fast response during crisis. Others argue that such power should require additional approval. The discussion continues in political circles and policy think tanks around the world. Still, regardless of debate, one fact remains unchanged. The system depends on restraint. Nuclear weapons have existed for more than 75 years. During that time, global conflicts have occurred. Wars have been fought. Tensions have risen between powerful nations. Yet nuclear weapons have not been used in large-scale warfare since World War II. Why? Because leaders understand what comes after. They understand that retaliation would follow retaliation, that escalation could spiral out of control, that no nation would emerge untouched. In many ways, the greatest strength of the nuclear system is not its destructive power. It is the discipline of those who control it. Officers sitting in underground silos train daily for an order they hope never arrives. Submarine crews patrol silently beneath the ocean for months at a time, unseen and unheard. Radar operators scan the skies continuously. Their mission is readiness, not aggression. And presidents, regardless of political party or personal beliefs, inherit the same burden when they enter office. The responsibility does not belong to one individual alone. It represents an entire nation's security posture. But in the critical moment, it narrows to one voice giving one command. History has shown that the most powerful decision is often the one not made. Choosing patience over panic. Choosing verification over reaction. Choosing diplomacy over destruction. In a world armed with weapons capable of ending civilization, restraint becomes the ultimate act of leadership, because true power is not measured by the ability to destroy. It is measured by the wisdom to hold back. As long as nuclear weapons exist, the greatest protection for humanity will not be the missiles in their silos or the submarines beneath the sea. It will be the judgment, discipline, and humanity of the person who holds the authority and chooses peace over devastation. That is the real story behind the system. Not just machines, not just missiles, but the enormous human weight carried by those entrusted with the most powerful decision on Earth.